Hey folks, thanks for stopping by my YouTube channel. I have a card for you today that is fall themed, and my plan is to use this as my design for this year's Thanksgiving card. So far I've made 2 of these, but I need to finish 8 more so that I have enough to send to my friends and family this year. Thank goodness I still have several weeks ahead of me to get them all done. Okay, let's get started. I'm going to start by showing you the stamp sets that I'm using to create this card. The first one is Sweater Weather by MFT Stamps. Then I have the branch that I'm going to use from this honeybee stamp set called The Birds and the Bees. And the final set, I'm going to pull some pieces from the pumpkin and the leaves that are in the bottom of the card are from the Simon Says stamp Hello Pumpkin set, and that one's a couple years old. I'm going to start out with my full-size Misty stamp positioner and some Neenah Solar White 80-pound cardstock, which I have cut in half. So this piece measures 5.5 by 8.5. I begin by arranging all of my stamps on the Misty at the top half of the paper. This way I can stamp once, turn the paper, and then stamp again. This works great when you're trying to do some mass production stamping. The ink I'm using today is Memento Tuxedo Black ink because it's Copic safe, and it's my favorite. It's the only ink I use whenever I'm going to be stamping and doing Copic coloring. It doesn't bleed, it doesn't run, it just comes out really crisp, so it's my favorite. Next I'm going to show you the coloring, these little images, and I'm only going to do one set on camera, and I'm going to speed it up for you so that it goes a little bit faster in this video. It doesn't have to be forever long. I'm going to put some music on, and I'll be back in a minute or two when we're done. Okay, next I'm going to take the coordinating dies that came with each of these sets, and I'm going to tape down the dies in position using my purple tape, which is my go-to tape. I reuse my tape. I save those little pieces. I'm kind of stingy with that stuff, but it's great because it doesn't damage the paper. After you run it through the die machine, it still comes right off. And so here they are, all cut. And I'm going to show you the other dies I used for the other components of the card. So I've got a double stitched oval, and then just a regular A2 size rectangle, stitched rectangle, and then from Lawn Fawn, this one is their breezy. I love this background panel. I just love it. I use it for so many things. So here I die cut them off camera already, and I'm going to get ready to show you how to ink blend the background. Okay. For the background panel, I'm using 80-pound Neenah Solar White cardstock, and I die cut mine first, but you don't have to. You could totally ink blend first and then die cut later. It's just I like to get all my die cutting done at once, so I did mine first. The inks I'm using are Tim Holtz Oxide inks in the colors of Twisted Citron and Tumbled Glass. And then I think I come back in a little bit later and add some Salty Ocean just to give it a little bit more depth. I have this in super high speed, so I don't normally ink blend this fast. Wish I could, but this is like 8 times the speed. So I do go back and forth over it quite a bit to get a nice blend. Once I'm happy with that, I clean off my ink blending tool. This is just a clipboard that I have craft Teflon paper attached to, and it just comes in really handy to ink blend, and it makes sure that you don't get all the ink all over your work surface when you're ready to put together the rest of your card. Okay, so now I'm ready to put some foam tape on the back, and I spared you that process because there's a ton of little tiny pieces, and it's not rocket science, so I just kind of clipped that part out. And so now I'm positioning the tree branch where I want it to go, and I'm going to finish putting more tape on the back of the bear and the owl. I'm going to leave the pumpkin and the fallen leaves without dimension, so those are going to tuck right behind the bear. And I'm just going to glue those down directly to the background panel. Oops, and I forgot to put some tape on the owl, so I'm going to tape him up. And have him be flying in. And now I'm going to put the sentiment on. Just get that out of the way so that I don't have to stamp on it once it's got all the dimension. It could not stamp evenly. So I'm going to do that now. And I use Versamark Nocturne, Versamark Clair Nocturne ink, which is a pigment ink, and comes out really crisp and clean. You usually just have to stamp it once. And the set I used was Hero Arts. What was that called? It was called, CL987. Doesn't have a name, but it's quite a few years old, but I love the set. I bring it out every year. Here I'm adding more foam tape to the top cover panel, and then getting the branch where I want it, and I'm going to tape that down because I have it hanging off the front. I can tape it down and hold it in place like that, and then take off all of the foam backing and place it down all in one big piece. And that ensures that everything gets glued down where I want it to. And then here what I'm doing is I'm taping those two pieces together after I have them set how I want them. And then I'm going to put some glue on the back and stick them down. And I'm going to put the cover over the top of it again just to make sure it's lined up in the place that I want it to be. And then once it's stuck down, I remove the purple tape, and there you go. Okay, now I'm going to take off all of the backing, and I think I might spare you this also. Yeah, I do. So you don't have to watch me painfully take off all those little tiny backing pieces. And then I see that I left a gap right there, so I wanted to fill that in. And I'm going to stand up and stand over this so that I have it directly on top of the panel where I want it, and just press it down. And then remove the purple tape. And then I will put the bear on and the owl, and then I will cut off the hanging branch. And we're almost done. So I stick down the bear. And then pop the owl on there. Now when I did position the cover on top, I was askew a little bit, and so that's what I'm doing right now, is there was a little bit of a green border that you could see peeking out, which I just cut off. Okay, here I'm preparing the card base, which is a top folding card, and I use 110 pound Neenah Solar White cardstock for the base, and I score it at 5.5 inches. And I'm going to grab my ATG tape runner gun, and you're going to see it mess up here. See? Oh, that drives me nuts. It happens too often, but I had a glue tube sitting right there, so I just finished it off with that. And I will fix that problem later. And I just glued down the top to my card base. And I'm going to put an insert inside, which I have pre-cut using one of my border dies, and then I'm going to use the same sentiment set from Hero Arts to say Happy Thanksgiving inside. And I'm using the same VersaFine Clear ink. I love that font. Gonna glue that up good. And the last thing that I do whenever I make a card is I sign it on the back with I had a stamp made by Bossy Jossie, made the stamp for me. I just had the logo designed and then sent her the design artwork, and she created the stamp for me. So there is my card. Okay, that's it for me. Thank you for watching today, and if you enjoyed this video, I'd love for you to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel.